And there I was the girl from Suits.
This one's wife cannot read the room or simply doesn't care. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There are many instances of the incongruous behaviour of this one's wife. For instance, she has been seen wearing clothing that would be deemed inappropriate. She turned up at a school in Nigeria wearing clothing that showed a lot of skin and cleavage, such as it is. She was showing off her shoulders and arms in a country which is conservative with a small c when it comes to the way that women dress. She, for instance, was requested to wear blue and white for the christening photo of one of the Wales's children. She decided to wear khaki poo instead. She will often talk about matters which are inappropriate. For instance, banging on about her joy at being a mum when she's talking to people who have lost children as a consequence of online activity. She will talk about herself in circumstances where the audience are becoming bored. She will interrupt when she's not required to speak. She'll make a speech when it wasn't scheduled for her to have done so. She will move in front of Harry, showing bad manners, elbowing him essentially out of the way. There are many instances of her wearing the wrong thing, speaking when she didn't need to do so, walking, for instance, in front of the veterans at Invictus, where she has engaged in greeting the audience as she did at a Navy SEAL facility opening while somebody else was giving a speech, where she and Harry trampled all over graves in a war cemetery. So many instances where her behaviour has been inappropriate. And this, quite understandably, has led many people to form the view that she simply is incapable of reading the room. But is it that? Is it the case that in these instances, when the attention is on her, she doesn't give a rat's ass about what she's doing, so long as the microphone is grasped in her hands and she's holding the audience hostage to her fridge magnet platitudes, or that the cameras are flashing in her direction so all eyes are on her? Is it simply that she doesn't give a shit about how she's behaving so long as she is the one that is getting the attention, whether she's speaking, being photographed, or being filmed? Well, it is certainly the case that she has an inability to read the room, and this is because she has no emotional empathy. Now, it's not the case that all individuals without emotional empathy fail to read the room. Individuals such as I have an ability to do so, but that's not because I have emotional empathy that guides me in doing so, but rather I have an ability that is born of having learned the ways that people behave, that I store that information and also store the appropriate responses in such situations, so that I know the optimum way to behave if I choose to do that, which allows me to fit in, to assert control, to draw fuel, etc., without looking incongruous, without looking awkward, without standing out in a way which is detrimental. This is because I have finely honed cognitive empathy, simply manufactured to aid me in my pursuit of the prime aims and the necessary triad. For this one's wife, her cognitive empathy isn't particularly evolved. She does have it. She is able to make noises of compassion. She is able to make it seem like she cares. But so often it misfires, with the consequence that she says and does things which don't fit. For example, her behaviour at Uvalde was a glaring example of where her cognitive empathy misfired. That driven by her narcissism, she didn't read the room. She turned up wearing jeans and t-shirt to stroll amongst the memorials, ensuring that she had a film crew and photographers following her. She attempted to enter a medical facility where she was not wanted. She brought vending machine products and tried to pass it off as a generous donation. Similarly, at the LA wildfires at the beginning of the year, she once again didn't read the room because she turned up and ensured that she was filmed, ensured that she had opportunity to walk amongst the debris when she ought not to have been there, failing to gauge the mood of matters, who didn't want somebody like her turning up and making it all about her. She thinks that she's being kind and compassionate by exhibiting this compassion for those that were gunned down at Uvalde. She believes that she's demonstrating care and compassion by helping out, doling out supplies at the LA wildfires. But the fact is that her presence was criticised and her behaviours criticised as a consequence of her once again failing to read the room. And this is because of her misfiring cognitive empathy. She doesn't have that guiding force that is emotional empathy to cause her to behave in ways that are appropriate to the situation that is unfolding before her. Thus, she goes where she's not wanted. She wears inappropriate clothing. She says things which are stupid. She turns up when she shouldn't be there. She continues to talk when she ought to shut up. She talks about meaningless things. She interrupts people. She talks over people. She takes the limelight. Accordingly, it is the case that she has an inability to read the room because she doesn't have emotional empathy, and her cognitive empathy often misfires and isn't well honed. But it is also the case that she behaves in the way that she does because she doesn't care. She thinks that she does, but she doesn't, because once she's hogging that microphone and talking and everybody's having to listen to her, or when she's turned up on a red carpet where she wasn't invited but all of the cameras are clicking and whirring in her direction, all that matters is the lovely, juicy fuel that she is obtaining, that she's sucking up all of that fuel from people's attention, and that's all that matters. That they're showing that they're under control, that she's managing to massage her facade and manage it on that world stage. And accordingly, her narcissism doesn't read what's going on and simply says, we're getting what we want, it doesn't matter if people are getting bored. There will be instances where she will see that people are rolling their eyes at her, that they will look bored, that they will look disinterested. But rather than pay attention to that and think, oh, hang on a second, I'm losing the audience, or, oh, that remark didn't go down rather well, I need to adjust, her narcissism simply tells her, that's an idiot. If they're bored by you, they clearly don't understand what you're talking about. They're thick. Ignore them. That person who's rolling their eyes there, they're just a hater. You don't need to pay any attention to them. Accordingly, these incongruous behaviours that you regularly witness with this one's wife are indeed a product of her narcissism and the consequence of the fact that she has an inability to both read the room and she simply doesn't care, because once her narcissism is getting what it wants, control, fuel, etc., everything else doesn't matter. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.